All right, so I'm back where I left off. Previous hand, I flat called in position with ace queen suited after I got re-raised by a bigger stack and folded the flop. All right, so next hand, get in with queen six suited. Hold on, let me start this over. Sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention at the very beginning here. All right, so blinds are 5,000, 10,000. I'm in the big blind. So first position limps in, and small blind completes. I just check my option as the big blind, and I flop a straight draw with a queen high heart draw, and the big blind leads in, or small blind leads out in bets. He's the big stack, and I just decide to raise right there. Maybe if get this guy out of here. If he calls, I can go ahead and check the back the turn if he checks it to me. Now, this was a scenario I did not want to run into, was have this guy in position flat call my raise. I mean, he could have anything. He could be trapping with a made flush. He could have the ace of hearts in his hands, which is a disaster for me. I mean, he could have. There's a lot of different hands he could potentially have in this situation. So I check to him. He checks back. Now I make the flush with the ace. I remember when this happened. I thought that this was a good card for me, even though I wasn't confident enough to bet it. I was gonna check and call, but I thought it was a good card because it was a flush card, but excuse me, it was a card higher than my queen, so now it makes it less likely that I don't know if he would just call with a king high flush draw, a bet and a raise on the flop. He very well could, but I mean, I just like that card. I think it would be much more possible, extremely likely that he would be calling with the ace of hearts. So when that card hit, I thought that my flush was probably live, which it was, but it turns out he flopped a set of sevens. So he ends up making a full house in the river, and he bets it. I call his bet, and it's not the end of the world, but lose some chips there. All right, so next hand, 10-7 suited, big stack raises. So I'm at a 20 big blind stack now. I fold out of the small blind with 10-7. All right, see what goes on here. All right, so he big blind bets out, gets raised by the big stack with an ace high board. They're both pretty deep. All right, so checks the turn. He bets out about a third of the pot. Gets a fold. All right, so next hand 5-10 on the button. That's going to be a fold every time. So it's a three-way pot, min raise, and then both the blinds call. So let's see what goes on here. All right, so they check to the original raiser. He bets out about a third of the pot, or excuse me, about half the pot. All right, he gets everyone to fold. All right, so queen nine suited. I decided to go ahead and raise this. I mean, this is questionable. It's debatable. I get shipped down by the big stack, and I got to fold. So that's why it was debatable. Given the my stack and the fact I'm the short stack at the table, I should be really looking for a hand that I can commit to the whole way. I think that considering the players, all right, let me pause this real quick. Considering the players, that's why I felt pretty confident just making a standard raise and seeing if I can just win it outright. Now this next hand, standard button min raise, and me being a short stack, I got about 18 big blinds. I decided just to ship it in with king nine. Maybe on the fence, but just given the scenario, he should be raising pretty wide. I figured that I had some pretty good fold equity, and then if he does call, king nine is not the worst hand in the world. So All right, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here. Folding queen two. Pretty standard. All right. So this guy limps in again. Remember last time he limped it with pocket seven, so that's something to put in the memory file. All right, so I turn a queen high flush draw, three flush cards in the board, but I decided just to bet it out and see if I could just steal the pot outright, and I do, so that works good for me. Next hand 3-7, I'm probably just gonna be folding this. Yeah, just give this guy a walk. Raising and then getting flat in a position's a disaster. All right, so queen seven suited on the button. So I'm probably just logically thinking from playing with these guys that they're really just not playing back as much as I think. Like the times these guys play back at me, I just assume that chalk it up to they just had a hand that they could play. So I end up checking it down. I think I just didn't want to get myself in too much trouble. He ended up having king high. I thought that I even had a little bit of decent showdown value with the queen high there, but it didn't work out, so that's fine. All right, so this guy limps in again, and this time I flop a flush, and I think that this. No, all right. I'm pretty certain I bust the person who busted out third. I can't remember though. All right, so this is a big hand brewing. Raise from the big stack. Big blind calls the raise. Jack high board, no draws. Jack eight deuce rainbow. So it goes check check on the turn. Let's see what happens here on the river. All right, so it leads on bets 90K into a $210 or no, excuse me, it was like 110,000. So about 3/4 pot bet on the river, and the big stack folds. All right, so 2-8 suited or 2-8 offsuit. Excuse me, I'm just going to be folding this. See what happens here. Another just blind on blind hand. Okay, so a pot bet on a turn, and then big blind calls. So let's see what happens here. The 10 pairs, and he bets about half pot into the big stack here, and he gets him to fold. So, all right, so I got king five and on the cutoff four-handed. I decide to open this, and I get called in two spots. All right, so I don't remember this hand, but the board comes out king high or queen high, excuse me, and no draws. I just decided to throw a bet out there. I pretty much think for these guys to continue with a hand like this, they would need their, they could have had 8-9 for a straight draw, 9-10 for a gut shot, hands like that. But I figured it was a pretty safe bet, flop just to make a continuation bet, and then if something happens, I can give up pretty easy on the turn. So I just threw the bet out there and stabbed at it and won. So that's good, chipping up a little bit. All right, so we're on the 5-minute break right now. Let me speed past all this, and so I'm in not in the worst spot right now. Four-handed, I'm still a short stack, but I still got playable chips. About 22 big blinds. Hold on one second. Let me fix this. Okay. So I'm streaming, and I'm recording over my stream from last night. So, all right. So actually, let me start this. I think this is the hand where I bust this guy out. All right. So I got 10-7 offsuit. I'm in position. He basically makes like a 2.5x raise. I decide to flat him in position, and I'm just obviously hoping to flop really big or just see what happens. I flop trip sevens, which is great. So when he bets into me here, in my head, I'm just thinking like, just gonna over bet this. It's a good board for any pocket pair, really. Even like a hand like if he had ace king or something like that, this guy might just run with it. Obviously, like a flush draw, potential straight draw, but I just wanted to get it in because it looks like I'm trying to steal the pot. So I mean, if I just flat call him and then he checks me in a turn and I bet it out, the outcome might be a little bit different. I just decided to plow this all in and make it look like I was weak and I was scared. He's definitely not putting me on a seven, making a play like this. And so it turns out he ends up having pocket eights. So I get really fortunate here. I flop trip sevens and then get all the money in the middle. So that doubles me up. I got 650,000 now, and I'm still behind this other big stack, but I'm in a much better position. All right, so very next hand, I get ace jack in a small blind. I'm just gonna go ahead and raise it. Considering when I play in sites with a lot of like very aggressive players and blind versus blind, I might raise, and then if I get re-raised, I might just ship it in on them with ace jack. Just kind of thinking out loud right now in hindsight. That might have been a situation where I should have just completed the small blind and then just called a raise because of every time these guys have showed a hand, they've showed a big hand. Every time they've raised, these guys are playing very passive. They're pretty much just limping in with any type of Broadway cards or suited connectors or small pocket pairs, and then they're raising like their good hands. I mean, that's what happened. This guy, had pocket eights, and how many times do you see that where all right, so this time I raise a 9-7 suited. No, excuse me, let me not lose my train of thought, but I mean, he could be raising like a wide range, but he showed pocket eight, so it just shows that these guys are pretty much playing nothing but good hands. So it's something to keep in mind because a lot of times you might get frustrated with people like re-raise you or play back at you, but the reality is they just got a good hand. So with that 9-7 suited last time, I raise and get re-raised, and I don't think my stacks are deep enough to really try to take a shot at him and stack him in that situation. Plus, again, he's probably got a really good hand, so I don't think that he's even making that re-raise with ace jack. I think that he's just going to call the original raise with ace jack. So, I don't want to get too out of line against these guys, especially as I've mentioned before, I feel like I got a skill advantage. So I'm just going to be really patient and wait for good spots to, I basically just want to give these guys enough rope to hang themselves. All right, so big blind, a couple of hands he raises. All right, raise out of this guy to my right. And outside of me, everyone else is in this pot. So this is a significant hand here. All right, so the small blind leads out into an all Broadway ace queen jack board. He gets called. Turns a 7, brings a diamond draw. He bets out again. About a third of the pot. Or more like a fifth of the pot, it looks like. And now 4 Broadway cards, a 10 will make a straight. See what happens here. It goes check, and then oh, I think I remember this hand. So he bets 89,000. This guy calls with 89,000, and okay, no, this is not the hand I was thinking. So he made a straight. This other guy got stuck in a hand with 2 pair. That's a pretty tough hand. I probably would have ended up paid him off too. It was ace jack, so ace is up. Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate, but shit happens. All right, so I raise queen 9, ace high board. I get called with just a blind. The big blind, I'm just going to go ahead and continuation bet this. Yeah, so again, back to what I was saying, those couple times this guy re-raised me or played back at me and, ended up having a big hand. This is a situation I make a raise and he just calls. So, I mean, this guy can have anything here, jack 10, queen jack, queen 10, king 10. And, just playing those hands very passive where, you might see some people with a I mean, our stacks are pretty even right now. Plus, we have this small guy, this small stack over here with 10 big blinds. So you don't want to do anything too crazy and get out of line. By that same token, he can have a hand like a queen jack and just decide, well, knowing that I have to have that same mentality that I want this guy to bust out so he could re-raise me and try to get me to fold. But that's all tournament theory, different things. A lot of times you play these tournaments and, they really turn into like a pissing contest to see who's the most aggressive. And you just got to be tactful about it, very smart and calculated with the way you approach it. All right, so raise out of the small blind. I got king jack. I'm pretty strong here, so ace high board. I decide to call. He doesn't have to have an ace for raising, and he's probably going to continuation bet a lot. He goes ahead and fires a second barrel, and I don't remember this hand, but I think that, well, I do call him. Let's see what happens on the river. All right, so I river two pair, and I think it goes check check on this river here. Yeah, so check. I check behind. I mean, it's just a lot that's going against me. I mean, never mind the fact that, he could have had ace king for a higher two pair, but I actually rivered him. So that worked well in my favor. I think I can make a pretty good case to myself now in hindsight that maybe I should have folded second pair. In a very aggressive game, blind versus blind, pretty much when you play heads up pots, the kind of idea behind it is you take away like the top card and you would play it like you would a multi-way pot, except you would treat like second pair like a top pair, things of that nature. So I was kind of just running with the king, and he had me beat, and I ended up rivering him. I mean, that happens, but like I said, I can make a pretty good case in hindsight that I could have folded that king jack. So all right, I'm gonna rewind this really quick. There, I wasn't paying attention to this hand, so let's see. All right, so big blind makes a 3x raise to 48,000. Comes around to the small blind, who then completes. Board comes out king high with two hearts. Basically just makes an all-in shove with the king, and I don't know why this guy called with ace high here. I think that's one of those things where you just outsmarted yourself, thinking that even if this person's plan was to do a stop and go the whole time, which I'll do a lot of times, like if I have like a small pocket pair and I know I don't have fold equity, this was very popular in sit and go tournaments years ago where people would do the stop and go move where they would just call the raise and then they would just shove like any flop to try to get people to fold. But I mean, ace high, you're just outsmarting yourself there. I mean, it's this guy's not making a play like that. And even ace five is just not strong enough. I could see ace queen, maybe, but ace five, I would just give it. I would just give it to him. So guy to my left got a little bit more chips now, and so let's see. All right, so this guy again limps in on the button, and he gets raised like five. Looks like a 5x raise or a 4x raise at 64, and then calls the raise. So let's see what goes on here. All right, so this is effectively pretty much betting this guy all in. I mean, that's a huge bet in that situation, but he, even to start the hand, pretty much just had like one stack to pot ratio. All right, so king jack, and they let me see a flop again. This guy limps in, button complete, so I hit a jack, and I decide just to keep firing. Now, I mean, if this guy comes over top of me and raises, I want to get this guy in. If he comes over top and raises me, I have a huge decision. It's probably going to be end up folding. Because that looks like a very strong raise. Plus, he has a ton of chips that can cover me. So, now the five pairs in the river, and I remember this hand. So I got to pay this guy off. He was basically calling down. He had a flush draw, bottom pair, and then he turned and opened in a straight draw. So I mean, he had tons of outs, and it's not the way I would play the hand. If I have 5-8, I'm gonna probably 5-8 suited. If I'm gonna play that hand, I'm gonna raise it. But you know, it's another hiccup. All right, so ace-4, not good enough to defend out of small blind against that raise from the big stack. All right, so here's a hand here. I'm gonna try to speed through some of this. My video's already at 20 minutes now. All right, so I just started to stab at this hand, and then I shut it down basically on the river, and he has ace high. He called me on a turn with ace high, and won the pot. So let's see. Basically, like hanging around like 25 big blinds right now. I'm back to being the short stack. All right, so Jack Ace suited. I min raise this and get a call out of the big blind. Comes out ace high. I'm sure I'm going to continuation bet this again. And I get the guy to fold, so that's good. You know, just chipping up a little bit when I can. I actually do have the guy to my right covered, excuse me, so I'm not the shortest stack at the table. All right, so a raise from the big stack and then a shove all in here. And ace queen versus ace jacks. Pretty standard. 20 big blind stack to shove against this button raiser. But, you know, again, it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I don't think that these guys are really getting out of line whatsoever with the way they're playing. If I had as many chips as this guy, I'd have been playing extremely aggressively. All right, so jack 9, flop a jack, I bet it out. And I get the guy to fold, so... All right, let's see here. I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit. So I raised 7-4 and end up having to fold. So a general rule of thumb, like when I'm in the small blind, I'll raise the top, very top, and the very bottom of my range. So 7-4 was at the very bottom of my range, and that's why like I did that raise, just trying to win the hand outright if he folds. The middle hand, the middle of my range, like the king 10s, queen jacks, jack 10s, suited ace. I want to see a flop, and those are hands that excuse me. Let me go back here. Those are hands that play well heads up. So I don't want to get blasted off those hands. So I don't want to raise and have somebody like re-raise me, and that's why I'm going to play those hands. Again, I'm going to raise the top of my range and the bottom of my range. In the bottom of my range, I'm just trying to get people to fold out. The top of my range, I'm trying to get more money in the pot. But the hands that like I want to see a flop cheap, I'm just going to limp in, especially out of position in the small blind. So this is a little bit of like heads up strategy in tournaments. All right, so this is the hand this guy gets busted. All right, so he limps in out of position in the small blind, gets 4x raised from the big stack. He's starting the hand with effectively 40 big blinds deep. King Jack 10 board, he fires out 80,000. He gets called. 80,000 is a 4 big blind bet, so he fires it out, goes check check on the turn, and now the board comes 4 broadways and ace completes a straight, and let's see what happens here. So bets out 83,000. Big stack shoves it, effective all-in bet. And this guy calls with just a pair of kings, just top pair on the board with a potential flush, a potential 4 cards to a straight. Let alone that, this guy could have just been shoving in, with repping the ace with two pair and had him beat. I mean, all he had was a pair of kings. So I mean, this is an obvious fold. But that works in my favor now because now I go heads up, and I believe this very next hand is the last hand of the tournament. Obviously, I'm in. All right, so he bets 4x. I got pretty good fold equity. He's been making that type of a raise pretty relative, so I'm not like really worried that he'll go with any hand. But he has ace jack and pretty bad flop. He adds 4 more outs to his 6 outs, so he's got 10 outs. So he's 40%, 60% to win in the flop, and I can't shake all the outs. He ends up hitting a jack, but very fortunate. The way this tournament went down, it was I started I think fourth in chips. Kind of weighed these guys out and got in some situations where these guys made mistakes. Obviously, that hand where that guy busted out in third place with just a pair of kings, obviously like a huge mistake, and it ended up. I think that third place jump was like $900 or something like that. So, based off of that, you ended up chipping up another $900. Got heads up against the eventual winner, who went coast to coast on a foul table, I believe, with the chip lead. So, couldn't get that hand to win at the end. But even if I did, I still had an uphill climb. But pretty fun tournament. $110 progressive knockout, 25K guaranteed. So there was 225 people. So there was about a $2,500 overlay on this tournament. So if you're looking to play some tournaments, Club WPT is getting a lot of overlays and pretty good tournaments. So hope you enjoyed the video. As always, if you want to leave a comment and any questions about it, anything I did in the tournament, just let me know. And I appreciate you watching.